There is a very specific feeling that every K-drama viewer knows. When a story ticks every box on paper, the cast, the premise, the reviews, and you still find yourself reaching for your phone mid-episode. K-dramas have a reputation, and honestly, it is well deserved. Stunning visuals, addictive storylines, and chemistry that jumps right through the screen. When a K-drama is good, it is really good. But here's the truth. Just because millions of people adore something, it doesn't mean it's for everyone. Maybe the story started strong and then completely lost the plot. Maybe the chemistry just wasn't there. Maybe the hype set expectations way too high or the pacing just felt off, despite everything on paper saying it should have worked. None of that makes the show necessarily bad, but it does make dropping it a lot easier than people might think. And that distinction matters. Because despite all that, dropping a drama is never a decision made lightly. There's always that voice saying, maybe it gets better. Maybe the next episode turns it all around, and sometimes it does. And sometimes it just doesn't. And that's what this video is about. Here are 5 dramas I watched that had everything going for them, but I never made it to that last episode. Oh, and fair warning, I tried to keep this as broad as possible, but here's your mandatory spoiler warning anyway. Number 5, A Killer Paradox. The premise is actually not that bad. Yi Tang, an ordinary college student, accidentally kills a man who assaulted him, only to find out that that man was actually a serial killer. And instead of turning himself in, he starts to wonder, was this fate? From there, Tang starts picking up on things others don't. An instinct he can't quite explain, but one he slowly stops questioning. He starts to lean in and positions himself as a kind of vigilante judge, deciding who deserves to walk away and who doesn't. So why did this one even end up on my watch list? Well, let's just say a certain scene went viral some time ago because it wasn't your typical we don't hold hands before episode 12 and kiss in episode 16 kind of thing, and I got curious. But I didn't make it past the first episode. I sat through it and I waited for that moment, you know, that feeling where a show just clicks and you know you're in for the long haul? But I walked away with nothing. Honestly, the hype had done its job a little too well, and once that wore off, there wasn't enough left to hold on to. I'm guessing that's a killer paradox. I'm sorry, I will see myself out now. Anyway, could it have gotten better after episode 1? Entirely possible and maybe even likely, but the drive to find out just wasn't there anymore. A Killer Paradox had a solid concept and a cast that clearly had something to work with. It just turned out not to be the drama that ended up holding my attention long enough to see it through. Number 4, Duna. This one also genuinely had potential. The premise is simple but interesting. Duna is the centerpiece of a K-pop girl group at the peak of her career who makes the surprising decision to step away from it all and move into a share house in a college town. There, she meets Jun, a 20-year-old freshman who barely knows who he is. What follows is a slow burn romance built around 2 people navigating very different worlds. Jun is trying to secure a stable future as his family's breadwinner, and Duna is wrestling with the suffocating pressure of public life and whether she ever wants to return to it. And somewhere in between all of that, they fall in love. The show also doesn't shy away from the darker side of K-pop, the impossible expectations, the constant performance, the cost of being perceived rather than known, and on paper, it's kind of worth telling. Also visually, it holds up. The cinematography is clean, considered, and easy on the eye. And I think for me, the teasers were what sold it. Something about the tone felt different, a little less bubbly, a little more grounded, with a cinematic quality that made it look worth the watch. I think it checked a lot of boxes actually. And then episode 1 started. I gotta be honest, not even 2 episodes. That's all it took for the female lead to become completely unwatchable in my eyes. The character of Duna is written to be difficult, that much is intentional. But there is a fine line between a complex, guarded character and one that is simply exhausting to spend time with, and that line got crossed fast. And once a character loses you that early, it's very hard to come back from. The story, the visuals, the themes, none of it matters if the person at the center of it all makes every scene feel like a chore. Duna was supposed to be a well-crafted show with real depth behind it. And quite frankly, the cinematography, the concept, it's all there. But the character that was meant to pull me in is the exact reason I left. Number 3, Love Next Door. This one actually kept things going for me for a while. Released in 2024 and available on Netflix, Love Next Door comes from the same creative duo behind Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, which alone was enough to set expectations fairly high. The story follows Choi Sung-yo, a renowned young architect, and Pae Sung-yu, his childhood friend, who returns to Korea after quitting her corporate job abroad. At its core, it's a love story between two people who grew up next door to each other, hence the title. But it's also about something deeper, about learning to follow your own convictions, despite the pressure of everyone around you. The two leads are opposites in the best way. The female lead is emotional and a little all over the place, and the male lead is driven but emotionally closed off. Surrounding them are family struggles, health problems, career setbacks, and a second lead couple that honestly deserved their own show entirely. The track record behind this one was hard to ignore. Same writers as Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, warm slice of life premise, and a cast with real chemistry. It had the makings of a comfort watch done right. And for a good while, there was enough to stay. The warmth of it, the family dynamics, the occasional humor, it all had a certain ease to it. But the female lead became increasingly difficult to root for. To be fair, Song-yu has generally been through it. That part is not in question, but somewhere along the way her decisions stopped feeling human and started feeling like they existed purely to move the plot forward. Choices that didn't quite add up, reactions that felt one size too big for the moment. It created this exhausting push and pull that was hard to shake. If there was one short saving grace in all of this though, it was the second lead couple. The female lead's best friend and her journalist love interest were, in my opinion, the better thing about the show. Every scene they were in had an ease and a charm that the main storyline kept struggling to find at some point. There were entire episodes where the only reason I kept watching was to get back to them. But at some point, that exactly became the problem. A stronger second lead can be a reason to keep watching, but constantly switching between a storyline that felt alive and a main plot that kept stalling eventually became more exhausting than it was worth. Love Next Door is not a bad drama. The concept is solid, the production is warm, and that second lead couple alone makes a strong case for sticking with it. But at some point, no amount of second lead charm can make up for a main storyline that just isn't holding its own. Number 2, My Demon. This one didn't have much business being on this list. And yet, here we are. My Demon is a 2023 fantasy romance that aired on SBS and landed on Netflix shortly after. And the premise is generally one of the more creative ones in recent memory. Tong Kyo-won is a demon who has spent decades making deals with humans, granting wishes in exchange for their souls being sent to hell 10 years later. Cold, calculated, and completely untouchable. Until a fateful encounter with Toru-ri, a sharp and headstrong heiress, turns everything upside down. His demon tattoo, the source of his power, somehow transfers to her, meaning he can only access his abilities through her touch. To avoid his own extinction, he has no choice but to protect her. And so the two enter a contract marriage out of mutual necessity. What starts as a transaction slowly begins to shift, feelings develop, and those feelings, as it is always the way, start to put them both in danger. The show ranked second on Netflix's global top 10 and was praised widely for the chemistry between its two leads, Song Kang and Kim Yoo-jung. And that chemistry was exactly what made this hard to resist. Two leads with genuine pull, a fantasy concept that stood out from the usual romance formulas, and the kind of buzz that made it feel unmissable. On paper, it had all the right ingredients. The chemistry between the leads was genuine, the premise was creative, but almost halfway through, something still wasn't clicking. The show never quite lived up to the version of itself it was selling. I don't think it was a single episode that drew me away, or not a clear moment that pulled attention elsewhere. It was somehow quieter than that. I think a pause here, an intention to come back there, and then one day, the tab just never got reopened. I think that might be the most honest way to put it. My demon didn't get dropped in frustration, it just got set down and I never picked it back up. When a show with this much going for it can't hold my attention past the halfway point, the hype had clearly done more work than the drama itself. My demon had everything it needed to be great, and maybe for some people it was. I just never made it across the finish line here because, to be honest, I got bored. Number 1, Vincenzo. Okay, don't come after me for this one, okay? Vincenzo is critically acclaimed, it has a devoted following, a cast that delivers on every level, and a villain that people still talk about years later. This is not a hidden flop dressed up as a fan favorite. Vincenzo is genuinely considered one of the best K-dramas of its era, and I still dropped it. The setup alone is compelling. Park Jo-young was adopted by an Italian family at a young age, grew up inside the mafia, and earned the trust of his adopted father. When the father dies and the biological son puts a target on his back, Jo-young flees to Seoul. His mission? Recover 1.5 tons of gold hidden beneath Gumga Plaza, a commercial building that has since been illegally seized by Pabel Group, a powerful and deeply corrupt pharmaceutical company that wants the whole thing demolished. Standing in the middle of all of this is Hong Cha-young, a lawyer who starts out on the wrong side of the fight, until her father is murdered by Pablo. And after that, she joins forces with Vincenzo, and together they set out to bring the corporation down. His way, mafia style. The tone is one of the more interesting things about it. Part action thriller, part absurdist comedy. One scene, Vincenzo is in the middle of a shootout, the next, the building's eccentric tenants are doing something completely unhinged. And I think that's exactly why it works. Song Joong-ki in the lead, a slow burn romance, and a villain that apparently lives rent-free in people's heads years later. The reputation alone made it feel like something that couldn't be skipped. And I genuinely made the effort. Vincenzo got multiple chances actually. Episodes were rewatched to find the thread again after stepping away. I paused once, I came back, I paused twice, and I came back again. The third time, I never made it back. It just never pulled me in. Every time I paused, coming back felt less like something to look forward to and more like something that I had to do. And a show that feels like homework will always lose to everything else on the list. At some point, it just got left behind. Vincenzo is by every measure a great drama. The writing, the performances, the tonal balance, it earns its reputation. It just never quite earned that next episode. And sometimes, that's all it comes down to. And there you have it. 5 dramas, 5 different reasons, 1 common thread. Sometimes, the hype just isn't enough. And that's okay. Not every show is for every person. The important thing is knowing when to let go.